it's great. In the summertime, it's not so great. And so I realized, and really later, I wish I would have learned that sooner. It was because my yeast was too hot. And you might think of like your ambient temperature of your room maybe be 68. Well, when the yeast is doing and getting active in the fermenter, it actually warms up the inside of the fermenter. So you might be 68 room temperature, but it's 72, 75 maybe in the fermenter. Maybe not quite that warm, but it's higher than the recommended maybe for that style yeast or whatever it is, right? And so I use a old chest freezer back behind me. You can kind of see the lid of it. And on the wall, there's as a temperature controller. It's $35, right? For one of those things. And that one's the Wi-Fi version. There's cheaper ones for 25
Nice.
probably for
Yeah.
the other one. But but that thing, it kicks on, there's a hot and a cold plug. The cold one is for the refrigerator. And in the inside, I use a lizard lamp, which is like a ceramic bulb. There's no light source, but just ceramic. So it heats up. That regulates the heat. And
Hmm.
so it keeps the temperature of the beer within 1 degree at all times. And so I stick my beer fermenter all the way in that thing. I take the probe, I put it right next to the harness, and so it's on the outside of the fermenter, not in the beer.
Hmm.
And then that kicks on the refrigerator when it needs to cool down, or the freezer. It becomes a refrigerator basically, but the freezer, and then it kicks on the lizard lamp when it's getting a little
Hmm.
too
Hmm.
cold to kind of keep it. And then eventually it just needs to kick on a little bit, and it holds it at a specific temperature the whole time. And so most beers want to be, or ales anyway, want to be between like 65 and 67 degrees. And it's just not that cold, even in the wintertime in your house, unless you have like a basement in
Hmm.
Minnesota. And that's why I make great beer in the winter, right? But like, most of them you don't have that luxury of being that cold, and so these kind of help regulate that temperature. But it also
Hmm.
can do lager temps down in the lower 50s, or even cold crashing down to the 30s. Or it's obviously a freezer; it can freeze. So like those type of things, you don't have to. If you already have a chest freezer,
Hmm.
that little gadget for $30 can make it a fermentation chamber, right?
Hmm.
Or even I've even had people that use a big tote, and they put like frozen jugs of milk or soda or a 2 liter
Oh,
bottle,
yep.
and they put water in it. They put their whole fermenter in the water, and then they trade out the jugs
Hmm.
of ice, and they put the cold ones in the freezer again, or the melted ones in the freezer, and they take out another one out of the freezer, put it back in the ice, and it cools it down. So you can try to get it at least
Yeah.
cooler that way. So there's different ways of doing it. That's called a swamp chest.
Yeah.
If you're wondering about
Swamp
that,
cooler,
yeah.
something like that.
Swamp coolers,
Yeah.
yeah. And so there's different ways of doing it, but that's the biggest thing. You'll make better beer when you can make the yeast happy. So
Yeah,
like
for sure.
no matter what you're doing, whether it's a lager, whether it's an ale, doesn't matter the style. They all want to be a little cooler than you can make it in your house.
Yeah.
Besides the Kvike yeast, right? So the Kvike yeast is a
Oh,
little different,
so
and
crazy.
and that one actually loves the heat.
Hmm.
Believe it or not, I've had a friend of mine who I've had to put a fermenter in a tub, and he turned down the hot water all the way, and it was like 90 degrees in the tub, and the thing just started kicking off. It was like the yeast wouldn't finish out, and he put it in the tub with hot water. It started going again, and the beer turned out fine. I was like, "You had to warm it up?" And he's like, "Yeah, I put it in the hot thing. I just turned on the water and let her go."
That's pretty cool.
So he
Yeah.
actually put it in the bathtub. Yeah,
So I like using Kvike for my ciders because Kvike doesn't
yeah.
impart any flavors, pretty neutral, right? For the most
Hmm.
part.
Hmm.
So for like ciders, that's brilliant. I recommend that to anybody. If they want to
Yeah.
make a cider and they want that strawberry lemon flavor to come through or whatever you're trying to do,
Hmm.
like you'll get those nice flavors